want to start?
Crazy. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Jared. Good morning. All right, so last person down. Pardon me? Everyone turn their mics on. We are having some streaming issues. There's some issue in larger cyberspace than just us, so if the live stream goes down for those who are listening, we will correct it and it'll be up to see in its entirety. So with that, let's call the roll. Please, Jenny.
Pat Bradford,
I am here.
Pete Wildebohr, Josie Barnhart, Kim Clark, Paul Slavic, Hannah Moon, Philip Sutton, Charlene Thompson, Jared Worthington,
Present.
Stephanie Walker,
Here.
Rob Zappel,
Here.
Eric Cradle,
Here.
Amanda Kazusiak, Lisa Wurzbacher, Natalie English, John Hennett, Christopher Riley, Livian Jones.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mason, if you'd like to join the table, we know that Josie and Pete's in Florida, and Josie had a commitment, so there's plenty of room at the table. And with that, let's do our Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation. Jared Worthington is going to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sovereign God, you are our Lord and the keeper of our universe. Your word reminds us we are your people and the sheep of your pasture. Today, as the board begins their meeting for the betterment of our schools, we thank you for the leadership, for every teacher, every faculty and staff member, and particularly for our students. We pray for your continued protection over every campus and all of our students. We pray specifically that you will grant this board direction, wisdom, and clarity in their decision-making so that whatever decisions they make will be for the improvement and betterment of our schools. We thank you for your guidance and your loving kindness. May we forever give your name praise. Amen.
Amen. All right, the next two housekeeping things. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda? All right, I have a first. Anyone second? Approval of the meeting agenda? First and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, all opposed say no. Same with the minutes of the October 17th meeting. Okay, and I'll second that. So all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. All right, that one passes. Now, we're going to take...
I got several messages from folks that were also very thankful and appreciative.
Thank you. And Ms. English, and then we're going to come back to you to talk to you about your polling in a minute, but your overall impression.
Well, I thought that certainly Eric and his team considered these issues so that we all understand what we're looking at, and then the students, as always, done students actually, Rob and the team all did a great job today, really outlining what we're looking at, and to Commissioner Walker's points, and I'm sure Commissioner Zappel will add on, it's not everything. We're far from doing everything we know we need in our community. I was pleased with the outcome.
All right, Mr. Zappel, Commissioner Zappel, dare I ask?
I enjoyed our time together yesterday. As always, that's what good government and good school board discussions look like. We bring in a lot of different thoughts and and looking to the future. So I'm really delighted that we've got a path forward here. We need this bond. and airing out things that could not fit in, as well as those that could fit in. I really appreciate Rob's, stepping in. I know you had to go from 0 to 100 in your job, and I really appreciate that. And of course, the financial expertise of both Amanda and Heather really, really helped it, and I am so thankful for Natalie and the chamber. No, I know, but step one, it feels like we have an advocacy group behind it, because I think that's critical to the success of everything that we talked about.
And the person next to Commissioner Zappel is our Chief Technology Whiz. This is Dawn Brinson, and she's going to be contributing with us here in a little while. Dawn, what was your impression of yesterday?
Not going to any of these meetings in the past, just sitting in on one, I felt like it went really well. It was very informative, so for not having all the information ahead of time, I appreciated the detail of the presentations, both from the county and from the district. So I felt like it went very well.
I think at the very beginning you had asked us what was our goals, what were some of the things we wanted to see come out of this, and I had mentioned that I wanted to see universal language. I think yesterday was a good culmination of seeing people build common terminology and common advocacy. That doesn't happen quickly, and it does take time. So I think you said we'd been here for a year. And we're starting to see that when people say this, they mean this. And when we have that kind of common language, it's easier to take some of the next steps. So I'm looking forward to this kind of being the springboard for what happens next.
Lillian. Good morning.
I watched the meeting this morning at 5 o'clock.
Oh, goodness.
But I did appreciate the dialogue. I thought Eric, Chris, Rob, I think everybody did a really good job of explaining where we are. Having served on the bond committee in 2014, I think it's great to have that message and explained. And the presentation I thought was very good, explaining the intent, where we are, where we're going. I do hear, the concerns. River Lights wasn't in the fund in 2014, or the bond, but I do know that New Hanover is a priority, and I get that. There's so many parties, and back in 2014, I don't think I understood fully why we just couldn't ask for what we needed. I do understand that now, and I think everything has been explained, but it's hard when you know the needs are out there not to be able to fulfill the needs, because we know it's going to be another 10, 12, 14 years. So, but anyway, I thought the meeting went very well. Thanks.
Ms. Mason.
Just echoing what everybody else has said, I think that it was well presented. I loved that our staff took feedback from us to add more information. All the photos I think were really beneficial. I think moving forward, having those in front and having people actually see what's going on in the schools. But also the other thing that I loved about the presentation, our presentation, was the map. And showing how impacting it is across the entire county, that it's not just one or two schools, it's not just New Hanover, it's not just River Lights, it's so many other things. But also going back to that discussion about New Hanover and just remembering that we as joint boards have the responsibility to keep pushing with New Hanover, whether we continue to be on the board in the future or not, just pushing that forward and recognizing that it's a big need, and our kids at New Hanover deserve so much more. They need to know that we appreciate them and that we love them and that we care about them and that we want to give them a safe place to be. So,
Andy, you feel like contributing?
I'll just say I think it went really well, and we were just happy to host everyone and have everyone there to talk.
Sure. Yeah, I thought the many meetings we had and all the planning that this committee did really came through at the meeting yesterday, so I just want to thank you for your leadership in that regard.
All right, Dr. Barnes.
I think more than anything else, this shows a compelling evidence that the county and the school board are working together collaboratively, and that we wouldn't be in a place where we're looking at a bond that's quite frankly, more than the last two bonds combined if we hadn't had the evidence of clear collaboration and work together.
Yeah, and that's what hit me last night, was where we were 2 years ago, where we were a year ago, and now where we are. This group has advanced the ball with transparency, and what was presented yesterday had almost every fact that anyone could possibly want. So the lack of questions was surprising to me, because we always get so many questions, but the answers were there. Eric had the answers already presented. Rob had the answers already presented, so that it was easy to understand for anyone who's been watching it all. And again, somebody coming in cold could really see where we've come from and where we're going. And I just couldn't be more pleased. It took me a minute to feel that way. The map for us is very exciting. It's a recent creation. Anita, can you put it up? Do we have the ability? And what you'll see there, the yellow are the schools themselves. And when you click on the yellow, you're going to get a picture of the school and some information. And so as Dawn and Anita and the team and Rob continue to build these out, the public will be able to go here and click on anything they want. And then the red, red safety, right? And then the blue is the technology aspect. So they'll be able to see. And when you look at the map, we've covered the map. This bond covers from the north, south, east, and west of the county, and that will make our job going forward this next year so much easier, because there's something for every school. And I think that's important, where if we had focused all of our dollars on the one school that's over 100 years old, I don't think the voters would have been as excited about it as we hope that they're going to be. So I just couldn't be more pleased.
Can I offer
Yes.
quick clarification and thing that we're trying to do? So the yellows represent the building projects. The red flags are safety and security. The blue is for HVAC.
Yes, sir.
And the green is for technology. But one of the things we're trying to do is make sure that we can add a legend to that, and that's just beyond the reach of my technical abilities. I created the legend, but I couldn't get it embedded in there. So I'm looking to Dawn, because she's got somebody who's going to help us do that. But the reason I say that is because I think that'll be important moving forward, if this is a map that we reference, that people know, what am I looking at when we look at these things?
So yeah, it's an exciting aspect of this that we go forward. And we do have to talk about where our support's going to come from in this next year. We've got the Advocates, of course, and we have the New Hanover alumni. Dr. Morgan and I are going to the alumni this week. Pete Willibore's coming back in time for that. And, we're going to start that ball rolling. They seem very supportive of us. So there's plenty of community initial interest in it. And with that, I'm going to let Natalie tell us about the polling she's done and what she's seeing from voters, from citizens, those who are concerned.
We like to call it research in my world, but we've done some scientific research, pulling only actual expected likely voters for a midterm election in November. And looking at previous elections, midterm elections for the last couple times, and we polled 300 likely New Hanover County voters and asked them if they would support a $300 million school bond, and we got over 70% of voters to say they would support it. It's not a number that I want us to go out telling the world. So, I know this is recorded, and somebody's probably going to grab that quote, and I'm going to be on the front page of some newspaper probably, which is frustrating. But it is good news that our community recognizes that we have facilities that need investments in them, and some facilities that need to be replaced, and that is with no information. And so I believe that as we continue to educate our community, especially parents of children in our school system, that they'll continue to support what we are asking them to move forward with. And I don't think it's going to take a lot of education. I really don't. So I'm excited that our community is saying that. Next steps for me are to share some of our research, to share some of this information that was shared yesterday that feels like I've heard it 8 million times now after being with you all for a year. But my board hasn't heard most of this, so I'll be sharing most of it with them on Monday in a much condensed version, and asking them to adopt a resolution not only in support of what we are hoping the county commission will do in the size of a $320 million bond for schools in 2026, but then also that the chamber would lead a business campaign and community, not just business and community campaign in support of those bonds next fall on the ballot.
Thank you. About the presentations from yesterday, are there any lingering questions that need to be answered? That is everything put to rest? Are we there? Yes, Ms. Moore.
I know we had a bit of a discussion on the technology piece of it, and I think there was a mention of perhaps trying to get maybe a little bit better or lower cost technology items that might help with that budget number. I don't know if there's another way we can get that finance, and I'm not trying to muddy the water or make it more complicated. I just feel like that piece is worth exploring. I don't know how much you know about that, Dr. Barnes or Dawn.
Well, I'll jump in, and Dawn, you can of course jump in as well. I think our impetus for sharing that with you yesterday was that we had earmarked $10 million to support our technology refreshing. However, that's not going to get us all the way there.
Right.
And so we will need to look at either grants, operating expenses, state funding, something to help carry that load. Of course, a 19-year refresh plan isn't feasible. So we're going to have to supplement that with money from somewhere. This gets us part of the way there, but it doesn't solve the whole problem. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, that covered it, but just kind of wanted to let people know that we are looking constantly at more affordable devices so that we can bring that cost down. That the other process we are doing is extending the life of the devices. Typically, we say laptops are 4 years, so we extend those to 5 years. iPads to 6 years, trying to extend the life as well as trying to find a more affordable device. So those are the two things that we're working on to bring the total cost down.
So technology is, we all notice it's 5 years is good. I think I did a little bit of research that the county does 5 years. Do you know that, Eric, offhand? You might not. I don't mean to spring that on you, but stretching out the time for technology is good. Is there any options to like lease and maybe trade them in? Is there anything like that maybe we could look at?
And we are looking at that. That's what we are looking at for the existing devices. So when we're done, typically things go to surplus and there's an auction. But instead, with the current devices, when we refresh those, we will do a different process with them to try and get more funds for them. So that money then can go back into the refresh cost. So, but all that depends on how long that these have to last. I mean, we've got our new Hanover and Laney devices, they're out of their warranty, like right about now. So they've hit their 4 years. So we know we're going to keep using them. So the longer we use it, the less the cost is that we're going to get when refreshed. So it's trying to find that balance of what that cost is. We want to make sure we're using them as long as we can, but we also want to get the best value for them when we do trade them in. But we are looking to do that process as well as trading them in. We have looked into leasing. Leasing sounds great if you're buying them all at one time, but if you're buying some each year, you're just adding on to that, so it's not really extending the time. If we were to refresh the whole district at one time, then you could spread that cost over those number of years. But since we're doing like a rolling refresh, it really doesn't benefit too much.
Right,
but we have looked into it.
You're in a different time, because I know we went to one-to-one technology. That meant more has to be on these devices because we're doing less books, physical books. Correct. Now. So it's a necessity, especially for our high schoolers and probably even middle schoolers. I wonder how much of a necessity is for the lower grades, and I'm not suggesting that we do away with that. But I don't know. I think it's much more important for the older kids to have them. But I don't know how y'all, is that not true?
Yeah, it does. It does scale downwards. There are more devices for 1-to-1 to 9-12, sort of group sets for 6-8, and then kind of less.
Yeah, I mean, so at the elementary level, what we had proposed is in K2 classrooms, literally just 10 devices, because they're not usually on them all at the same time. If they do need them for something like that, they can kind of combine them together. 3.5, we were looking at doing one cart for every 2 classrooms. Again, they can share. Had a conversation with the middle school principals because of how much of their content is online. They feel strongly that they need to be one-to-one at the middle school level, and then at the high school level, I think everybody feels like they need to be one-to-one. Because we're also having to look at the standard course of study from the state. So we have the digital skills that we're supposed to be teaching all students, and then we also have the computer science skills that are supposed to be done at K-5, as well as, you have your CTE classes at your middle school and high school, and then the AI that we need to make sure that all of our students are taught how to use effectively.
Do you also?
Madam Chair?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Walker. I think some of the things that I heard yesterday, and I think I've heard throughout the last year here, is that the district is always looking for ways to save and come in under budget on all the projects and operations and things. And so while I think it looks like the county commission is leaning towards a $320 million bond ask of the voters, and that our staffs, technology, safety, facilities are all looking at the ways to come in under budget for all the things. And then that means we can do more of the things, right? We have 18 plus million, almost 19 million in technology needs. Safety, it looks like we're actually going to be able to tackle a lot of those, especially vestibule improvements that we need with the 10 million in this bond. It's exciting to me to think that if we can come in under budget on the projects in the list, that we might even move further into phase 2 of New Hanover High than we think we can. To me, all that's exciting. And I think, I'm going to say something none of y'all's even thought about, but I think it's incumbent upon a committee like us, whether we remain the members or not, but a committee like us to aid and assist in the staffs to stay together and have those conversations where we're using like language and knowing that we're saying the same things and helping the staffs and the elected officials continue to communicate with each other throughout those times as these bonds are issued and then expended and then move on to the next projects. And then we can help also, as we have been doing and hopefully will continue to do, as well as the general public, on how that is all happening even better than we said it was going to happen. Because if we don't stop asking where you're going to find savings and move the money, then we're just going to keep having this conversation, and then the public's going to get even more and more confused. I do worry about that.
I think one of the points that was made yesterday that needs to be top of mind awareness is one that Commissioner Scalise made. 20 years ago, there was a study that said that you have these huge needs, and nothing happened. And so here we are. So we can't let that happen again. And the plans for this committee are long range. The one in Dare is 10 years, underway. And we had not this year, but last year, we had a meeting in Greensboro, and their county commission chair came all the way from Dare County to that to talk about their committee. Now, we didn't pattern after them. It just turned out to be that way. We found out about them before we had our first meeting. And so it was the encouragement that if we kept at this, we could get to where we are now. And imagine what the relationship between the county and the school board will be in 10 years if this continues. So one of my plans is for this next year, in amongst all the other things that we're doing in terms of this bond, is to talk about other funding sources, other grants that we can come and be in agreement on so that we can fund these other things that we need. Natalie pointed out to me this morning that, the county has other needs besides us. And how are they going to fund all these other things if they give us all their money? And that is true, even though I want all their money. I think next, let's talk, Eric and Amanda, behind the scenes, what happens in your shop now that we're at this point? Because really, when you look at it, it says, oh, nothing really happens until April, but April's like go time. So what will be happening with you guys between now and then?
I think we're in a good spot. I think between now and we built in some time between now and April in case anything came out of yesterday's meeting that needed to be changed or discussed. We gave ourselves plenty of time, especially considering the holidays, to allow for that. So I feel like we're in a good spot to move forward with the projects we've got. And from now, the next things are largely kind of legal processes, public hearings and resolutions that the Board of Commissioners adopt. So we feel like we're going to stand on what we've talked about yesterday. I think we're in a good spot to move forward in April.
Good. The public hearing part of it, that is part of the LGC, or, I know you said yesterday, but right now I can't remember, so it's worth repeating.
Yeah, maybe I need to get the real detailed timeline back out to everybody regarding the timeline from here set forth. Let me see if the public hearing, there's a public hearing on June the 1st of 2026. There's also one on May 18th of 2026, so earlier than that.
And what will happen at this public hearing?
There'll be a resolution that the board will pass, and before they do that, they will just open up the meeting for public comment, whether they should, any thoughts the public has.
And when does the LGC get involved?
We will submit the application according to our timeline on April the 19th of 2026. And again, between that date and the June public hearing, we should have their feedback on whether they agree that the amount of debt that we're putting out is appropriate and whether the incremental tax rate that we suggested is appropriate. So we'll have good feedback from them in that ensuing 6 weeks to have a pretty good indication that that they agree with our analysis.
On bonds in the past, how much have they differed? Has there been a squabble before? Do you remember that, Vivian? It's kind of an unknown for the rest
The only
of
thing
us.
I'll say is I have been in contact with LGC 2 different times with their person that's over general obligation bonds, and I've discussed with them our thought process and our methodology, and he seemed to agree that everything we were thinking about was the correct way to think about it. So.
Wonderful. Go ahead, Dr. Moore.
I also encourage us to remember, too, that when you're choosing from the buffet, you can overload your plate. Okay, we need to make decisions that are fiscally responsible, that are well thought out and systematic. And what I don't want to do is 320, I know that some people have said, is that enough money? That is a lot of money to work through in the time that we have. And so I think the most important thing to do is be good stewards of the money that we are given. And this group, don't worry, there's more for you to do because we're about to ramp up to next year's budget.
Yep.
So we've got a lot on our own plate, and what I don't want to do is I guess, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? This is a lot of projects for us to work through, and we need to be good stewards of the money that we're given as well.
I would agree.
The graph that showed all the different counties and bonds and the ratings, have we talked to other counties about needs and what they asked for and kind of comparison? Because I saw Brunswick was the very far left, but the commissioners have just approved $450 million. Do we know how many students they have and we have? And
We are about 25,000. They are about 13,000.
And they go out there and bond back to $349 million also.
Okay.
And when you look at their current debt load, it's about half of what ours has. So they've not put nearly as much in the schools as we have in the past. And their current outstanding debt, again, on a per capita basis, is about half of what New Hanover County is.
I was just curious because I know some of the problems that Winston-Salem's had and Forsyth and Guilford, and was just curious.
And that's why I think taking measured, methodical steps is safer. But also, if you look at that chart, you can see that several of those school systems go back for a bond every 2 years, and we are on a cycle about every 10. And so when you see Union County is there twice, Guilford County is there twice, I think that's a great burden on the taxpayer to cycle back that frequently.
It's good to know.
And logically, think about it. If we've been at this a year and we have another year in it, we would be constantly working on the bond. There would never be a break at all to do anything else. It'd just be a constant effort towards bonds. So to me, I'm glad that the county is on a 10-year cycle versus a 2.
My heart can't take it.
Yeah, I don't like that idea. Go ahead, John.
What was the date on that?
No, I don't think it is. I read it
We've got
now.
an abbreviated one in the packet, but I've got a more detailed one that I can get out to you.
It was May 18th.
May 18th is, and June 1st.
Now, those are the 2 public hearings, and then April 19th, they submit the application to the LGC. So we have April 19th and May 18th and June 1, big dates for us. And then, remember last year we got the school board budget done by April, so we're going to come back in January, and Dr. Barnes, are we ready for us to go to it? Sorry.
One thing I think I want to highlight as well, the addition of that money for the HVAC upgrades and repairs will save us from having the issues that some other counties have had. I mentioned yesterday, Wake County is $200 million in deferred maintenance for their HVAC, and over the last 3 years have sent a third of their kids home at some point during the day because the conditions were unable to continue with learning. And this would solve so many of those issues ahead of time, which I think is a great forward-thinking attitude for the commissioners and the board.
And Dr. Morgan, which school was it? I can't remember right now. Ms. Mason pointed it out yesterday that has the giant air conditioning duct coming down into the classroom.
Williams.
Mary C. Williams.
That was Mary C. Williams, but I will say we've had that in other schools as well, especially over the summer when we had soaring temperatures and we were getting ready for open houses, open houses and teachers returning.
You did a good job of taking hot classrooms and turning them into cooler, but we don't want those kind of fire drills in our school district. They can't learn if they're hot. They can't learn if they're cold. So,
Madam Chair.
yes, sir.
Before we move on, I just want to note, Eric and Amanda are both incredibly modest in the workload they do. I know for a fact that the conversations with the LGC have already been started, or they're in constant, let me put it this way, they're in constant communication with them. So it will not, roll up to the date and then we drop the request or the information on them at the last second. It's one of the reasons why we at New Hanover County have been so successful in all of our bonds, because of that communication line being open and constant, and we really thank them for that. They noted that Eric, again, kind of deflected that question earlier. I just wanted to make sure you understood. We will absolutely not go into an LGC hearing unprepared and with all the background work being done beforehand. We should know the basics of the outcome prior to that. Also wanted to point out that the Union County and the breakdown of communication between their county commissioners and the school board. Well known, I know through my work with the NCACC, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and having personal conversations with those commissioners, that in the not very long ago, all of their communications happened between the lawyers of the Union County Commissioners and the school board. That's how far it had broken down. And to me, it points to, and frankly is a large part of why I've stayed with this specific committee, to make sure that we don't see a breakdown in the communication. And I think a lot of this goes to your credit, Madam Chair, in setting this up and opening it up so that the county commission can be involved over this entire 2-year period. And I appreciate Commissioner Walker joining in too. We take it for granted here that we all talk among each other, meaning all the different sectors. It doesn't happen in other counties, and it becomes a real mess and really expensive, and not all that money is going into the schools. Just wanted to kind of bring that out.
And I agree. 5 of us, 4 board members and Dr. Barnes, just got back from Greensboro for an annual group of school board members, and we were a little shocked at how they spoke about, oh my gosh, a call from a county commissioner, when for us that's pretty common, that we can pick up the phone and call any of you at any time, and Eric and Amanda and Chris. I mean, the relationship has really drastically improved over this last year, but we were kind of shocked. And the number of school boards that are at odds with their superintendent is staggering. And the number of superintendents that have been on the job 2 years or less in our state is staggering. So we are very grateful to have the leadership that we have of Dr. Barnes. That would not have been possible without him and the staff. It wouldn't have been.
Well, that's why I have good people, but North Carolina post-COVID, for the last 5 years, about 70% of the superintendencies have turned over. About 44%, I'm halfway through almost half of the experience of superintendents in the state. And it didn't work, but I called you, Mr. Zappel, as you were talking. You were saying the communication here is great, and I was hoping you'd pick up your phone. I go, look, I got his phone number. But literally, I mean, and it's nice of you to say that, but I wouldn't have survived this long if it wasn't the support from the commissioners, from the board, and from this staff anyway, so.
To add to your point, Madam Chair, I remember distinctly a conversation I had with two commissioners from Union County who used profanity in reference to the school board and the specific school board members in a conversation I had in a public setting. That's how far it had broken down. And I was stunned. So again, none of this, what we're doing here, happens by accident. But it takes work, like any relationship. You got to keep talking.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the turnaround that we've done. So, we talked a little bit yesterday about the promotional ideas, and I think it'd be remiss to go home for the holiday vacations that we have in front of us without talking for a little bit. We heard from the chamber and what their intent, Natalie's intent is to discuss with her board. Does anybody have any ideas on that vein or direction or encouragement for Dr. Barnes in terms of how we're going to promote? We know we have to, and only a couple of you have, well, several of you have experience in that, but the rest of us have none.
Madam Chair, if I could just kick off
Sure.
a conversation, just historically and from my experience in another county, and I think Livian could speak pretty well her experience in this county. Public employees aren't allowed to
Right.
advocate. They can help us educate. So anybody who might be advocating is going to need to lean pretty heavily on the staff teams at the county and the school boards to help us create educational materials like Dawn's beautiful website with all the flags that she and Dr. Morgan put together. That'll be a great tool for us to use as a part of a Vote Yes campaign. And so I think there are some of you who could actually ask people to vote yes, those of you who are on the ballot. And so please do. My experience says that you get a group of folks who want to advocate. And so assuming my board agrees with me, there's going to be a business community group that wants to, I believe there will be parent groups who want to be engaged. Somebody yesterday mentioned parent groups. I think, I don't know who else beyond that might be interested in assisting with advocacy, but then you put the campaign together, right? And it's really grassroots. It's going out and visiting with those people who have a propensity to care about what happens in our school facilities and then encouraging them to go vote. It's as simple as that. It's educating through meetings like Rotary clubs and other PTA meetings and things like that. So it's not going to be a heavy lift where, and in my opinion, I don't think we should start yesterday. I really don't. I think some of you have a lot of hard work to do between now and the first week in March. And I hope that you will do that hard work so that then we get what we need done prior to the new fiscal year. We got budgets to get done, so you have more hard work to get done before the end of the fiscal year. People aren't thinking about, not voters aren't thinking about next November's ballot. And so to spend a lot of time or money advocating for votes on next November's ballot, I think will be wasted time and money, in my opinion. So,
Good points.
Livian, would you suggest anything in addition, particular to Hanover County?
I mean, I think, like you said, Rotary groups, civic groups, it's a matter of people around the room or chamber members that want to raise their hand and do that. But also, I'd say neighborhood groups. I've worked on a couple projects recently, but Marsh Oaks has a very strong neighborhood contingency. Just take River Lights, different, we make a list. And go down and get volunteers to knock it out, and we can come to a consensus about the facts that are discussed. But that's how we got the word out before. And I think that's a good thing to start doing earlier rather than later, to hear feedback or things that we need to circumvent as we move forward.
As I understood it yesterday, we are allowed to inform. And so we've been doing that all this time, but now we can really lean into that. Josie Barnhart's suggestion to put a physical sign in front of every school, kind of like what they've already started to create with the points that are in this, those bullet points that are in this. This will change the school in the 2026 bond if passed. I think that will make a difference because all those parents are driving to and from the schools every day. And so I look forward to that part of it.
That's probably an August, though, thing.
Yeah.
For when people come back.
Yeah.
But also, too, we did such a good job, this group did such a good job building a budget that was fair-minded and responsible and getting it to the county early. That set the frame for us to do this work. We have to make sure we put that same focus and attention on our budget for the upcoming school year as well.
Yes, ma'am. It's probably a no-brainer, but like a website of some sort, maybe, or a web page that we could direct people to for
I believe
information.
Staff is working on that now.
Awesome. Okay.
Where's the cart and the horse in this? I mean, shouldn't we not do a lot of this before the LGC makes their determination? I mean, I guess I don't know the answer to that question.
I think it's fine to go ahead and start on the timeline that Ms. English suggested. The LGC doesn't actually approve this until after the voter referendum, so we'll sort of have a general heads up, but their final approval doesn't even come until after the vote is in.
So, I mean, my kids can plan a great trip to Disney World, but until I know that we have the money to go, their plans don't make a lot of sense, right? I mean, like, should we be waiting for some kind of assurance before we go whole hog into this?
Again, I think that 6-week time period after we file the application, we'll be getting good feedback from the LGC, and that seems like it lines up with what Natalie said, starting kind of in the summer. By that time, I think we'll have a pretty good feeling which direction we're going.
Dr. Burns, it feels like we are going to Disney. It's how many rides are we going to get and how nice is the hotel we're going to stay in, But we're going to Disney. It may be the budget Disney or maybe the luxury Disney, but one way or the other.
Well, let's not call it luxury. But what I want to do is I want to spend our coin where it's most valuable and most impactful.
You're not going to get any votes tomorrow. You're not going to turn anybody's vote tomorrow for spending any money on a campaign. And so I would say educational materials that need to be created related to what the work that the staff has already done. Keep working on that as you might need it for county commission meetings and public hearings, fine. But as it relates to campaign material to educate voters, we don't need any of that. And y'all wouldn't do that anyway. We would be doing that. So we'll create a campaign committee according to state campaign finance laws. We will find out how much money we need to raise. We'll try to raise money and spend it appropriately and report it appropriately and all the things. It will not be chamber money. It won't be funded by the chamber. This is separate and apart, and it will be a separate entity, if you will. There will probably be a whole lot of chamber staff time in it as on top of the current jobs that we all do, because if our board agrees to this, we will passionately engage in helping our community continue to grow economically, and this is a piece of that.
That's great news. On that note, we could talk about our next meeting, which I hadn't thought that we would have until January. If the beginning budget conversations are our first order of business, do we have a meeting in December? I mean, January, or do we wait until February? What do you think, guys?
We need to get ourselves together before we bring it to you guys. So I would think February is probably more appropriate, because we'll have to do a lot of that groundwork before it even gets to your guys' table. I also want you to be aware that there are several more roadblocks that are in the West year. We are not assured about other title funding like 2, 3, and 4. We're not sure about Title 1. There are significant challenges that may be facing us ahead. So I think we need to be aware of that in regards to just our outlook for this next budget.
Madam Chair, back to the tools. I know one tool that we have here is that study we had LS3P do. I think we spent $300,000 from the county. I think it would be really forceful, or it would be a good tool to have as a basic summary point of the main items of that, ready to go on a one-sheeter. Rob, I know we've got that report, and in fact, I would love it. We've only seen a really high-level summary of it. I would love to see the full report and maybe offer some thoughts on that. I know it's focused on New Hanover High School, but I think when questions do come, be able to have that to show, specific information coming from the architects as to why we are putting, even in this case, $60 million into New Hanover High School. That work has been done for us, and I think it's pretty powerful.
And the other thing that we can't overlook is Dr. Morgan's going to owe us the first of the year that the HVAC study and so on. When's that due, Rob? I can't remember.
Right now, the timeline is for their work to be wrapping up at the end of January, with the completed report due to us in March.
Okay.
So, and the reason I bring that up is because in previous conversations, we talked about the fact that we'll be working with them along the way. So I don't think we have to wait until March to hear what that report will show us, but I think that will be where they compile all of the data and provide it in a professional format.
So you could brief us in February about that, of where you stand on that. It's going to be in...
I think that's reasonable.
So, everybody look at February on the calendar.
February, I can't pull up, I'm having trouble getting to the calendar for the board yet.
The Thursdays in February are the 5th, it's too early, the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th. Can we come to an agreement on a day and date this early? Lock it down. Pardon me? Yes, I did say 16th. I said 19th, 12th or 19th or 26th.
I would think, Ashley, you tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think the 26th would give us the most running room that we can have.
I agree.
Okay. Can you guys do the 26th? Anybody have an objection at this point? Thursday, the 26th? I'm sorry? All right, y'all put that on your calendars now. Back to our regular time, which was what, 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock? What time is our normal?
We have
12:30.
professional development in here at 2 o'clock on that day. Is there any way we could do like 12:30?
Or could we advance to the 19th?
I will not be here on the 9th.
Okay, then we can't advance. Can't do this without Ashley. What time on the 26th? 12?
How about this? You guys come at 12 and I'll feed you.
Ooh. 12
I'll
noon.
put the money in the bond.
We need 320.51 million.
What do you think you'll be eating? There'll be pizza over there. No, but if we can do 12 o'clock on the 26th, then Ashley will remind me that I promised to feed you guys.
Okay, Ashley.
Okay.
Try not to let that slip from memory.
Is there any other business of this committee before we adjourn until February 26th? My goodness, at 12. And of course, the email is still working, so y'all send messages and, chocolate, things like that in the meantime. So with nothing else,
Chocolate over email?
nothing else, meeting is adjourned. I'm sure you can.